Welcome to Video 7 on the Blue Book on Subsequent History. In this video, you will learn how to cite a case's subsequent history for the reader. Subsequent history means what happened to the case after it was decided.
Subsequent history is governed by B 10.1.6, Rule 10.5 Sub D, Rule 10.7, and Table 8. There are multiple types of subsequent history, including reversed, overruled, abrogated, superseded by statute, affirmed, and certiorari granted or denied. Remember to check Table 8 when dealing with subsequent history because it gives you examples of explanatory phrases as well as how to abbreviate those explanatory phrases properly.
Take a look at this screenshot from Westlaw Next. This is the history of Georgia versus Randolph that was decided by the United States Supreme Court. The page can be accessed by clicking the History tab on Westlaw Next. The History tab shows you the progression of the case through the courts. Start at the bottom. Here is a citation to the case when it was at the Georgia Court of Appeals. From there, the case was appealed and affirmed by the Georgia Supreme Court. Above that and to the left, there is the citation for when the United States Supreme Court granted certiorari. And then on the right, there is a citation for when the United States Supreme Court affirmed the Georgia Supreme Court. The general rule is to include subsequent history of the case you are citing if it was addressed by a higher court. Take a look at this example. People v. Hawthorne was decided by the Michigan Court of Appeals in 2005. Then that decision was reversed by the Michigan Supreme Court in 2006. Please note there are, however, some exceptions for citing subsequent history. The most notable is as follows. Do not include a denial of certiorari or similar discretionary appeal if a case is more than 2 years old. The exception to that exception is if the denial is a particularly relevant point in your piece. Let's discuss what overruled, abrogated, and superseded means and look at an example of how to use each in turn. First, overruled means where a later decision by the same court or one with appellate jurisdiction over the original court explicitly repudiates its original decision. Use the phrase overruled by. For example, in the National League of Cities case, the citation shows the case National League of Cities, decided in 1976, was overruled by Garcia in 1985. Second, abrogated is where cases are effectively but not explicitly overruled or departed from by a later decision of the same court. Use the phrase abrogated. In the Ahrens case, the citation shows that the case Ahrens was decided in 1948 and was abrogated by Braden in 1973. Finally, superseded by statute or a constitutional amendment means if a statute or amendment was enacted with the specific intent of reversing the outcome of the initial case, the statute or amendment must be cited when the case is cited. For example, in Dred Scott, the Dred Scott case was decided in 1856 and was superseded by constitutional amendment through the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Keep in mind a couple of rules with the subsequent history format. First, regarding the case name. You do not need the case name of the subsequent case unless the case name is changed on appeal. This is addressed in Rule 10.7.2 and gives you instructions on using sub nom. Second, regarding the date and Rule 10.5 sub D, if the cases listed in the cite are decided in the same year, include the year only in the last cited decision. For example, United States v. Eller was decided by a lower court and reversed by the Fourth Circuit in the same year, 1953. so only 1 year in the citation is required. Also notice how there is not a case name for the Fourth Circuit's opinion reversing the lower court. That's because the case name didn't change on appeal. If you are dealing with a case that requires multiple history citations, see Rule 10.7.1 Sub A. This concludes video number 7.